World War III has broken out. All across the globe, nations with nuclear capabilities are firing off hundreds of intercontinental ballistic missiles, ready to turn their targets into irradiated ash. This is, for all intents and purposes, the end of the world as we know it. But the US government needs to do everything it can to preserve order in the aftermath of nuclear Armageddon. First order of business is getting the President of the United States to a safe and secure location. Is there a secret base beneath the White House? No. Well, what about the Pentagon? Still no? Wait, what do you mean that there's a secret presidential apocalypse bunker beneath the Greenbrier Vacation Resort in West Virginia? As it turns out, the Eisenhower administration foresaw this end-of-the-world scenario. In preparation for this catastrophic event, they built an apocalyptic bunker and fallout shelter 720 feet into the mountainside behind the successful White Sulphur Springs Vacation Resort. They were thinking bigger than just a glorified presidential panic room, too. This 112,544 square foot subterranean bunker, which is about the size of your average Walmart, was designed to sustain 535 members of Congress, as well as government staff, to ensure all occupants had a safe and pleasant stay. People are probably wondering what exactly goes on inside this huge bunker and how it was kept a secret from its construction in 1958 to its eventual public reveal in 1992. We'll answer all that and more, but for now, the sky's on fire and you need to get the president to safety. So you take the commander-in-chief on an express trip to White Sulphur Springs, West Virginia. Thankfully, he was already in the area giving a rally to local supporters just 20 minutes away from the Greenbrier. The first strike is already on its way, so you better hurry to the resort before it actually hits and turns you all into the world's first Fallout 76 players, complete with all the disappointment of, actually playing Fallout 76. The Greenbrier is a historic resort that's hosted over 26 United States presidents since its opening to the public in 1778, so it's only natural that President Eisenhower, who frequently played golf there, would decide to put the world's most luxurious apocalypse bunker right underneath it. It's a race against time to enter one of the bunker's 4 entrances before the air is clouded with deadly radioactive fallout. Thankfully, being an impeccably trained member of the Secret Service, you get him there in the nick of time. You close the 25-ton blast door behind you, sealing out the bursts of nuclear fire. You're now officially in the Greenbrier bunker, also referred to by the Washington Post as the last resort. President Eisenhower approved the creation of the Greenbrier bunker as part of his continuity of government program. As the Cold War between the United States and the Soviet Union started to look like it might get hot, Eisenhower felt the need to anticipate a deadly nuclear exchange between the two superpowers. Mountainside bunkers like Greenbrier were constructed in order to preserve some arms of government in the event of a first strike against the United States. All the COG shelters needed to fit a specific criterion. It had to be within 5 hours of Washington, D.C., but far enough away to avoid heavy nuclear fallout. It needed to be accessible by train, air, and highway, and it had to have prior experience in working with government projects. The Greenbrier fit the bill perfectly. Eisenhower struck a deal with the owners of the hotel. He would fund the construction of a new wing of the hotel if the hotel would allow the U.S. military to build the Greenbrier bunker underneath it. A deal was struck and simultaneous construction began on the West Virginia wing of the Greenbrier Resort, and the Greenbrier COG bunker hidden underneath it. This all came under a secret project codenamed Greek Island. The hotel and the government worked hand in hand to both create the facility and maintain its secrecy. These people were working with a real sense of urgency, thinking the bomb could drop at any time. Of course, keeping a project this huge under wraps is easier said than done. They were building a giant, complex building underneath an active hotel with hundreds of members of staff, none of which had government clearance. In order to reduce suspicion, they used all of the dirt excavated to make room for the bunker to make a new golf course on the resort grounds. Much of the resources used to build the bunker, such as the immense quantities of concrete and steel, were delivered under the cover of night to keep suspicion low. However, plenty of Greenbrier employees still cottoned on to the mysterious construction going on beneath the hotel and resort. These employees and numerous White Sulphur Springs locals were aware that some kind of secret bunker was being built. Rumors circulated that the bunker was intended for the president in the event of a nuclear standoff, and they had no idea just how right they were. In 1962, construction on the bunker was finally finished. just in time for the Cuban Missile Crisis, the tense 13-day standoff between the US and the Soviet forces that brought the world to the brink of nuclear Armageddon. The bunker was placed on immediate alert, even though nobody was ever officially evacuated to it. Government workers did, however, install a new 7,000-foot runway at the local airport for the secret purpose of bringing in evacuees from the country's capital in the event of a Russian first strike. This runway ended up being mainly used for tourists rather than refugees of a nuclear holocaust. As the missile crisis was resolved and the Cold War eventually came to a close, the Greenbrier bunker thankfully never saw official use for its intended purpose. President Eisenhower died long before he'd even be able to make good on his investment. Letters from the Eisenhower administration revealing the paranoia and genuine fear of the possibility of nuclear annihilation were only released to the public in the last 10 years. But Eisenhower's paranoia just saved your life. You, the president, and a select group of government officials are the chosen few who will wait out the end of days in style. Thanks to the hard labor of Eisenhower-era workers, you're now surrounded by 5-foot-thick reinforced concrete walls, far from the cramped, dingy setting you probably picture when you hear the word bunker. The Greenbrier bunker is extremely well appointed. During your possible rest of your life stay here, you'll be able to take advantage of state-of-the-art, for the early 60s, decontamination chambers. That'll likely get most of the radiation off of you. And that's better than having all of it, right? In actuality, all the technology in the Greenbrier bunker is current circa 1992, including the decontamination chambers. This is because during the 30-year interim between the bunker's creation and its decommissioning in 1995, government workers who maintained the base in secret also continually updated the technology within it. For the most part, a lot of the technology in the base would be recognizable to the modern Secret Service worker, engineer, or government official. The conditions of the subterranean vault still seem pretty bleak compared to the West Virginia wing built above it. The new wing was built with 88 extremely luxurious suites, a state-of-the-art medical center, and a hall for trade shows. The new wing was built into a large hill that was then entirely hollowed out to make room for the bunker. While you might be tempted to feel jealous of the people in the luxury hotel above you, you really shouldn't. If they weren't vaporized in the initial blast, they're probably about to die a slow and torturous death from radiation poisoning, or be ripped apart by feral ghouls, or, the scorched. Seriously, Bethesda, you skipped Fallout 5 for that. At least in your bunker, you're safe from nuclear bombs and regular old Bethesda video game bombs. When you move further in, you'll find the 18 dormitories designed to house over 1,000 government officials and employees. There's also a built-in power plant with water purification facilities fixed to 3 huge water tanks capable of holding over 25,000 gallons of water each. That should keep you from dehydrating a few hundred feet below the storm of nuclear hellfire. But it doesn't stop there. Eisenhower and the people working under him were fully aware that the occupants of the Greenbrier bunker would be in there for the long haul, whether it was him or a future president. As a result, they went all out on the bunker. There's an additional 3 14,000-gallon tanks for fuel storage. Eisenhower also had the bunker fitted with a communications department for sending messages to whatever's left on the outside via the Presidential Emergency Broadcast System. The communication department was fitted with both audio and video production areas, so the president can continue to put out presidential addresses, even though the majority of the country outside are likely all dead. If people happen to get sick during your tenure in the Greenbrier bunker, Eisenhower's architects and planners thought ahead for that too. The bunker has a clinic with 12 hospital beds, as well as the resources for medical and dental surgery. However, if you did manage to escape into the Greenbrier bunker with a sizable portion of Congress, only having 12 beds could begin to present an issue. Congress members on the whole aren't exactly spring chickens. The average age for a member of the U.S. House of Representatives is 57.8 years, and the average age for a U.S. Senator is even older at 61.8 years. These numbers are a little concerning depending on how long you want Eisenhower's planned continuity of government to last in the Greenbrier bunker. Thankfully, the bunker does have a pharmacy and an intensive care unit to take a little of the stress off the medical department. However, this does raise one of the key concerns of the Greenbrier bunker and any fallout shelter in general. The resources are finite. While the bunker also has a laboratory, whether this lab could synthesize enough medication to keep up with the demand of the aging bunker population is an open question. Lucky for you, you wouldn't actually need to keep them in the bunker forever. Unlike the radioactive blast produced by nuclear reactor overlords, like the Chernobyl reactor in Pripyat or the Fukushima Daiichi nuclear disaster, the half-life of radioactive fallout from nuclear weapons is significantly shorter. By the time that the intended 6-month stay in the bunker is completed, the fallout outside will have fallen below dangerous levels of radioactivity. It's likely that the infrastructural damage outside will be massive, but the air will at least be breathable. But I've got some good news and some bad news before we get ahead of ourselves here. The good news is that you probably won't need to worry about depleting those resources during your stay. The bad news is that this is because over 90% of Congress is probably dead. This is because of a fundamental oversight that actually got the Greenbrier bunker decommissioned in the mid-90s. While the Eisenhower administration and beyond had the foresight to continually update technology inside the bunker, they didn't have the foresight to consider how missile delivery technology would adapt alongside it. When the Eisenhower administration decided on their location for the bunker using the 5 hours from Washington principle, this wasn't a problem. They anticipated nuclear bombs delivered by Soviet bombers flying over the North Pole, which was the accepted method of Soviet attack at the time. This would give US officials several hours to escape the danger zone and get comfortable in the bunker. However, like a reliable pizza delivery service, an ICBM can now reach Washington from Russia in 30 minutes or less. As a result, if the nukes start flying and you're not in the immediate vicinity of the Greenbrier bunker, it's a sad day for you. You're just lucky the commander-in-chief happened to be in West Virginia at the time, or you would not have gotten him to safety in time. The downside is you're also going to be working with reduced technological capabilities, seeing as the military removed all classified technology in the 90s when the bunker's obsolescence came to light. These days, the federal government technically no longer owns the Greenbrier bunker. It's owned by the governor of Virginia and hosts 90-minute tours for over 50,000 tourists every single year. Despite the base no longer being a well-kept military secret, taking pictures inside the bunker is completely forbidden. But that's because large portions of the bunker have now been leased out as data storage. So even if Congress doesn't survive the nuclear blast, the corporate data will be just fine. Thanks for watching this episode of the Infographics Show. Curious about more weird hidden bases and bunkers around the globe? Why not check out Why Did the Nazis Have a Secret Base in the Arctic? And the President's Escape Plan if the US is attacked. Better hunker down and get watching.